Appreciate that answer, sir. And I stay in touch with my constituents, the ones who pay me a lot of money. I go and I meet with them, I have dinner with them, I make appearances. And I also wanted to make a quick correction. My house is $11.5 million, not just millions. I just wanted to correct the record.
We get it, you're rich.
I have a question for you, just real quick, yeah. If we elect you as our next congressman and get rid of her, would you ever build something like that with our money?
Not with your money, but even though I do like it, I don't need something that big for two people.
Thank you. Oh, back to you again.
And one more thing, as to the comment that the congressmen need to be out in their district visiting with their constituents, I give you Exhibit A. I do that all the time, and I'm proud of that. So don't tell me that I don't visit with constituents, and he didn't pay me. Thank you.
You know, the weather in Washington, D.C. is really miserable in July and August. It's hot, sticky and everything, and you all from Congress always leave the city because it's a terrible place to be. How do you intend to hide for 6 or 8 weeks?
Thank you.
Thank you for asking that question. That's a great question. Do you know how many rooms are in that house? I don't have to try to hide, and I can't be found. So, just gonna thank you for asking that question.
Tell me, you can answer.
Well, if I was congressman and we were on the month-long break that they have every single year, I would be having multiple town hall meetings across the district, and not just where my offices are located, but in the coffee shops and libraries and school systems across the district.
Thank you. Who else? Come on.
Congressman Black, you seem so enamored with Trump. You think he's hot stuff. Would you please tell us all a few of the traits that personally appeal to you?
Well, I thank you for that question. That's a very good question. And I'm sure you all have seen the poll recently that had all the words that people use to describe Trump. And of them, leader, businessman, president. I mean, those are great reasons to support a president. So he has my full support for those. Those were the words that I would choose. Thank you.
Being someone who has wanted to be president of the United States since I was 5 years old, I have a huge respect for the office of president of the United States, and also being a veteran candidate. When you make promises on the campaign trail, you should fulfill those. And when you say you're going to drain the swamp, you should be doing that.
One word I forgot to mention when I mentioned the things that make me enamored of Trump is winner. Winner. And we all know, especially with this stunning victory, President Trump's victory with the passage through the House of the American Health Care Act, I just wanted to say that it gave me a great honor on that day to stand with all of the other men and drink beer with them to celebrate that big win in the Rose Garden. So winning, again, winning.
Congressman, when the Affordable Care Act was implemented, it was being paid for, well, partially by the mandate, and now that it's being attempted to be repealed by the ACHA, they not only are taking that method of funding away, but are providing millions of dollars in tax cuts to the top 1%, and I guess 10% of the population, which means that our deficit will soar, and we have no way to make up that money other than the Republicans' so-called plan to cut numerous important social services. So I was just wondering, the fact that those social services can in no way make up for the amount of tax dollars that you want to give back to the wealthy who really don't need it, how are we going to pay for anything, and how are we going to get out of debt?
Thank you for asking that question. That is a great question. One of the things that we all know is that my esteemed Republican colleagues and I only care about the deficit when the Democrat is in office. So that's truly, it's a great question, but I'm slightly offended by it. Thank you.
Those tax cuts will take away $600 billion of taxpayer money over the next decade and put them into the hands of the wealthiest Americans and also insurance companies, and that money should be going back into the pockets of taxpayers and not the most wealthy Americans or the insurance companies.
I'm not sure how I'm going to pay for air conditioning in that house if I don't get the tax cuts. So, thank you.
I have a question.
Do you believe in trickle-down economics?
Thank you for that question. Is that referencing the tapes that we heard about?
Trickle-down economics. Give money to the rich and it will trickle down to the poor.
Oh, I believe our president just invented that word. He just coined that term, and I need to look it up further.
We tried trickle-down economics during President Reagan, and it didn't work.
Hey, right answer.
Barbie, you have something?
I do, and I'll just keep going here. Congressman Black, I would like to know how you can continue to deny human-caused climate change and the urgency with which we must address this if our quality of life, if our world, if our ecosystem is to survive. What do you think about President Trump's desire to pull out of the Paris Climate Agreement and to scrap the Clean Power Plan?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. That's a really good question. And as a nurse, I can just say that I really respect those three scientists who disagree with the reality of climate change, as opposed to all the other thousands who recognize it as real. Thank you.
I oppose the 31% cut to the EPA budget, which mainly goes to the climate change branch of the EPA. I support the Paris Agreement because it puts us on a plan to make sure that our planet is around for our great grandchildren.
Anybody else have a question? Well, let me get her and then I'll get you. And you, okay, all right. So let's get her, then you, then I'll get you in the back.
Representative Black, I understand you have said you are supportive of Trump's domestic agenda. However, you must have seen the danger that Trump is putting us in on the world stage, how he is insulting our allies, how he brought in Russian diplomats into the Oval Office, how he divulged confidential information. And I want to know, and I'm not sure what committee you're on in the House, but impeachment proceedings start in the House, and I want to know what action you will take to protect our nation and remove Trump from office.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. That's a great question. And I just wanted to say that have I mentioned that Trump is winning? And I support our president, as we all, as patriots, should do. It is our patriotic duty. And if you saw his speech the other day, he said Russia's fine. So I think that speaks for itself, as every tweet that the president tweets speaks for itself.
I will say that if I was in the House at the moment, we could not impeach President Trump because of that, because being the president, he has the right to give any information that is given to him to any person he deems necessary. However, I do believe he needs to read both of these again. These are threat assessments from around the world by the Director of National Intelligence. And maybe if he reads some of those, he would know that we have to not only protect ourselves but our allies instead of pushing them farther away.
Do we still call you congressman or congresswoman? Now, let me finish. I'm asking this based on a law that I think that passed here in Tennessee saying that natural words have to have their natural meaning. So therefore, you are congresswoman now, right? But my question to you is, how does the AHCA impact Medicare? Because the Affordable Care Act was removing the donut hole for Part D Medicare. Plus it had a lot of other benefits attached to Medicare. So would you answer that for me, please?
Thank you.
I am going to be called whatever I like to be called, thank you. And that's chairman to you. And with regard to your question about Medicare, I am again going to do what I did at MTSU at the town hall when the questioning got uncomfortable for me, and I'm going to pass the mic.
Well, I oppose the American Health Care Act because the funding for Medicaid and the expanded coverage would be eliminated and by 2020, and it would go to block grants that necessarily wouldn't come to people here in the 6th District. So that's something that we have to make sure, if we're going to send our tax dollars to Washington, we need those tax dollars to come back like they should.
There's been a lot of polarized politics going on lately, and I feel like that's a result of a lot of the fake news and or alternative facts, that sort of thing. So Is there anything that you can do to try to address that, to help people go back to actually looking at the issues instead of getting caught up in,
Lies.
sure.
Misinformation. Alternate facts.
We call lies.
Well, that's a great question, and thank you for asking that question. And I will just say that when I watch Fox and Friends, I am given a great deal of comfort, and I would completely recommend, as our president does, that you tune in nightly to Fox and Friends.
I would say, a congressman in the state of Washington represent both Democrats and Republicans, and listen to both sides. You have to, even though you may disagree with the Republican side or the Democratic side, you have to listen to both sides because you may put a plan forward, but somebody across the aisle may have a better plan and can help even more people in your district.
So that's our question.
Do you support WCTE?
Thank you for that question. Was that the wrestling league that our president was in?
Yes, I do support the WCT, and I would work to make sure that the 100% cuts to the arts and cultures agencies would not get taken out of the budget.
Anybody else want something out of the middle of this? Anybody else with a question?
Congresswoman Black, I've got a question about all of the money that is being cut from our school systems in our county that I live in, is DeKalb. $400,000 is being cut from their budget. In Warren County, similar high amounts of money are being cut, I know, for two. I would guess it's going to be all across Tennessee. And this is one question. The second question has to do with Donald Trump's great wall that he would like to have built. At the cost of, one report, it says over $20 million. And the wall goes for about 1,900 miles, of which there are many opportunities, even with the best fencing that we have, that people can still get across one way or another, including over by San Francisco, where it is very foggy at times, and people cross during, when it's foggy. So, as Donald promised that Mexico was going to pay for this, and of course we know that's not true. And our infrastructure all across the United States is in terrible, terrible, terrible shape. It's piddly. And this money could easily go towards our infrastructure. And in our counties right around here, you don't have to drive very far to see how poor the Tennessee roads are, as well as bridges and many other things that just need lots of repair. So that's my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that series of questions. That was very much appreciated. I'll address the second one first because that's the one I remember. I, as a Republican representative of District 6, really can't be tasked with spending too much time driving around the actual roads to know these conditions. I really only listen to my corporate donors, and they've told me nothing about crumbling infrastructure. And then with regard to the education question, I have full confidence in Betsy DeVos, who does not believe in public education. And if she doesn't believe in it, then I think it's worthwhile to, just listen to what she has to say. And again, I will say that I 100% support our President Trump, who really prefers his populace to be uneducated. So, thank you.
I don't think she answered the question about the wall.
I'll answer all of your questions. Your first question on education, I support the public school system, and I do not support the $9.2 billion budget cut that President Trump is doing. Our undocumented immigrants pay $7 billion in sales tax a year, $1.1 billion in income taxes, and $3.6 billion in property taxes. And the wall would cost $6.5 million per mile, and there is 1,954 miles of the southern U.S. border. And you also mentioned infrastructure. Our inland waterways has a grade of D, and it's going to cost $4.9 million over the next 20 years to fix it. Hazardous waste, a grade of D. It's going to cost anywhere from $253 million to $414 million a year. Energy, D. 640,000 miles of high voltage transmission lines in the lower 48 states. Power grids are at full capacity and will cost $177 billion to maintain over the next 20 years. Drinking water, D. An estimated $1 trillion is necessary to maintain and expand service to meet demands over the next 25 years. Dams, D. It's going to cost $64 billion to rehabilitate and also to make those where they're not on the verge of collapsing. Bridges, C+. It's going to cost $123 billion to get all of our bridges up to where they need to be. Aviation, D. $42 billion just to get that up to where it needs to be. And levees that protect 300 colleges and universities, 30 professional sports venues, 100 breweries, and an estimated $1.3 trillion in property will cost $80 billion over the next 10 years to maintain and improve the nation's system of levees.
Those were some very interesting facts that you pointed out, sir, and I just want to say it almost seems as if you came prepared and did some research before you came to a debate, which I find odd. And also, the numbers that stood out to me when you were reading those numbers about our infrastructure in Tennessee. Did you say 6.2 million per mile? Oh no, I'm sorry, that was with regard to the wall. $6.2 million per mile? 6.5 million. That is exactly half of the cost of my house. So those numbers stood out to me. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I find no problem with that cost. And I don't know why the taxpayers would have a problem with it.
Are we going to get the Rio Grande back to Mexico since we're building the wall on this side of it?
Yes. Yes.
The border wall is also going to ensure that we have lawsuits to the federal government by people whose land is going to be affected, and also Native American land. And also, I might add that the border security agencies have never asked for a wall.
Thank you for saying that, but I think we'll all agree that our president is no stranger to lawsuits. And so if that is the criteria for which we decide whether or not to do something, our president says, bring it on. Is all he's saying, I think. And I support him 100%.
His track record in the courtroom is not very good right now.
sir? Positive. Next question.